Hey guys, Coach Rob here. This video is on how to interpret your daily readiness reading and how to look at your numbers and do a little bit deeper dive into understanding what's going on. So we're starting this video at the end of a morning readiness reading. Hopefully you've already seen those couple of other videos. You are comfortable with doing that, you know what's going on, and now you're ready to kind of figure out a little bit more about what's going on with your numbers. So this is after I finished the workout. I haven't quite hit save yet for the end of that. So what you see here is what usually most people stop at, but this is really only just barely scratching even the surface. On this day, you can see I was a green 8, and it's a little bit to the left, so that's the sympathetic, so just a little bit towards the stress mode. My HRV was a 68, my resting heart rate was a 51. Now, to be completely honest with you, yes, 68 HRV is pretty healthy and pretty good. Resting heart rate of 51 is pretty healthy and pretty good, and a green 8 is fine. But honestly, relatively to who I am and what's going on with me and stuff, this really doesn't give me a whole lot of guidance of what's going on. So what you want to do is take another minute or so, scroll down and look at each of the blocks of information. So the one right below this, and oh, by the way, please do feel free to tweet, Facebook, Instagram out, or share out otherwise your numbers and stuff like that. People do that, and there's a lot of community out there doing these things. So the intra-reading chart, you can see the HRV and the heart rate. So the heart rate's nice and healthy, going up and down, back and forth. That's actually normal. If it's a flat line, I think we know what that means. That's not what we're looking for. If you want to dig deeper into the intra-reading chart, you can hit the See More, and it's going to pop you over and show you a lot of other charts. This is something you can learn in time. You got chart options at the top of what you want to look at, but there's the R to R intervals, which is the peak to peak intervals in milliseconds. This is just a chart showing you as time went on what those were. Then here's looking at your HRV again as the time goes on for the recording, what your numbers were. You can see mine actually went up after a short while. The heart rate, this is a running chart of what your heart rate was. So if this doesn't tell you anything, you don't necessarily need to spend time on it. You can take a look at it. Down the road, we can get into more value behind it. But honestly, I think the more value for you guys is further down here. The next one is signal quality. It's important to look at this one to see how reliable is the signal we just took. You can see on this recording from me, I have 10 artifacts that were detected, and it gives me a cool little percentage of almost 4% of the measurement. But basically, the important thing is the signal quality is good. It didn't have to make a lot of adjustments because it otherwise read or interpreted variations. You know, once in a while having a yellow, which is probably fair, not so bad, but you kind of want to figure out why the signal quality was fair and not good. And then if it's in the red, it's likely that it's not a highly reliable number. There was enough algorithm changes applied to it that it may mute or otherwise adapt your outcome results. So if it's good, it's great. The next one down, your HRV time domain results. Okay, these are the statistical looks that are determining your actual HRV. The mean R to R interval for my reading today is over 1,000 milliseconds. That's good. The smaller the number, the less good or not as good as it is, but the number needs to get pretty small in order to be of a concern. The root mean squared of some differences, RMSSD, and the natural log of that. That means something when you're comparing numbers across different platforms or otherwise really doing a deep dive, highly specific. That's not what I'm doing with most clients by any means. We're keeping it more focused on the SDNN and the PNN50. So for SDNN, that's the standard deviation of the end-to-end peaks or the sequential beats. So like beat 2 compared to beat 3 and beat 5 compared to beat 6 and beat 1001 compared to beat 1002. And it's looking at the time between those. Optimally, it's over 100 milliseconds. So you see, I did well today. I'm over 100 milliseconds, so that's good. When I'm looking at this for clients, I'm wanting to make sure you're at least around or over 50, preferably over 100. And then I'm looking to make sure that when I'm looking at charts online on my coaching page that if anyone does happen to drop below 20, that we're not staying there very long at all. 20 is a number that in the world of clinical psychology and psychiatry, they look at, and that's a determinator for different things and actions they do. The PNN 50 is the percentage of those beats, back-to-back beats, that are beyond 50 milliseconds in difference. 32% is a nice, good, even middle range number. The lower the number, the more stressed you are, meaning the more the beats are about the same timing. The higher this number means the more variable the beats are. So even 50% is a really good number. 20% is still fine. Getting down to single digits percentages is starting to be, I guess the common phrase might be, kind of wound pretty tight, uptight, or under a lot of stress. All kind of mean the same thing. And then the end-to-end 50 is the actual number of beats that were beyond 50 milliseconds. The 7-day HRV CV, that's the coefficient of variance. That's how much my numbers are swinging day to day over a 7-day average period. So right now I'm going through a period where it's 9.3%. That's almost high enough that it's adding stress to it. So my numbers have been swinging up and down quite a bit. It's not good to be really low, like 1 or 2, because then there's either not much going on and you're not getting much stress added, or it could be indicative that you've got extremely good cardiovascular health and that whatever's coming your way, you just handle it and recover really, really well. On the other side of that, it also could mean that your system is not able to respond to stresses, and you could be reaching adrenal overreaching or adrenal fatigue status. So whenever somebody's around 1 or 2, I'm looking to set the context behind what that is. If someone's 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, that's all pretty good. You're swinging enough. You're getting good exercise on your parasympathetic, sympathetic system. I'm looking to make sure we're bouncing across from S to PS because you're getting exercised on driving both of those types of signals. And then over 10, I'm just looking to make sure we don't park there, like we're there forever. It's not so bad to have a 1 or a 2-day variation, but you want to have a body and a system that responds and recovers back to normal. HRV frequency domain, this is a really powerful analytic tool. This is looking at your power. So you can see right here it's saying total power, LF-HF, and LF-HF ratio. So the total power is the total signal strength of your vagus nerve. From what I know, the higher the number, the better. And preferably 10,000 is unquestionably really good. I really like to see people with 5,000 or more. Starting to get under 5,000 is, it's attention getting, but it's not that big of a deal. Under 1,000 is starting to have a weak enough signal that can affect things. And then the lower, of course, the more concerning. LF is your low frequency power. That correlates to your sympathetic drive or power signal. And HF correlates to your parasympathetic. So just a reminder that the sympathetic is that stress, fight, flight, adrenal type of thing. HF is the rest, recovery, digest, grow, get better, get healthier type of thing. You can't always be in one or the other, but a good balance between them is good. So the LF-HF ratio, optimally, you're between a 1 and a 2. You can see I am not optimal today. I'm at 6.5. It's still okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, those are all fine numbers, but we really do want to see a lot of numbers between 1 and 2. That simply means that both your sympathetic and your parasympathetic signal strengths are returned and they're in balance. So in balance is good and high power is good. You can have one or the other, you can have neither. They're not necessarily connected. I've got good power, but not great balance today. And in of that, looking at the LF-HF, they both are good signals. Your ratio can be out of whack because one is really strong or one is really weak. So it just kind of depends, and it helps to look at the trend over time. These numbers are acceptable for the day. There's nothing alarming in that I need to dig in deeper on. Heart rate results, it simply gives you your minimum, maximum, and your average heart rate because it does vary over time. And you have a review of your tags, and you can change them here if you need be. So with that, we would normally hit save. I actually have already done my reading, and I pulled up the reading from here. So I'm going to hit back. I'm not necessarily going to hit save. And then what we're going to do is now go back to the normal readings. There we go. All right, so once you hit save and you get out of that detail, this is the screen you'll be looking at. So you'll be looking at your today's readiness, and then tomorrow they'll be all different. So how to analyze this? This is really the powerful part of it, in addition to looking at your power and stuff. So for my reading today, I'm a green 7. My today's number was a 63. My yesterday's number was 64. The baseline is your 7-day running average. So the last 7 readings all added up, divided by 7, and that's a 68 for me. My lifetime forever reading is a 68. So what this tells me right here, and this is how you kind of analyze and see what do I do today. I'm normally a 68. That's me normal. With all the stress coming at me and how I resolve it and handle it, I'm a 68 normally. The past 7 days, I'm a 68. So regardless of if I have a lot of stress or very little stress or whatever's going on in my last 7 days, I am at my normal. And that's good. That means I'm not under a curve right now of a lot of stress or a lot of recovery going on, which adds a variable to understanding your today's numbers. Yesterday I was 64, which is indicating a stronger stress signal than parasympathetic signal by 4 points. And then today I'm still yet a little bit lower. So that's maybe implying that there's a trend of increasing stress coming at me, at least over the last couple of days. My weekly coefficient of variance is 5.6, so that's telling me I'm right dialed in the middle of the variables that are going on. It's not too small, not too big. It's really just kind of a decent number. So that's all kind of good. It's just indicating I'm under a little bit of a stress. So that the green 7 is actually a good number for indicating this all, because while I'm under stress, it's not as strong and as significant as maybe I should really actively tailor things back. I should consider not adding more stress and getting more recovery in, but I can buy myself a day if I need to based on what today is going on. So again, what does it look like on a week and a month scale? Right here, the weekly insights. My HRV on average for the week is a 67. My readiness is an 8. My resting heart rate is a 58. You can see that 86% of the time I'm green, 14% I'm yellow. This is actually pretty good. We don't want to see all green, and we don't want to see no green. But a little bit of yellow and monthly a couple of reds, that's totally fine. On average, my sleep quality is neutral, 7 hours. On average, I exercise about 8/10 of an hour, and my intensity is a 3. Monthly insights. So for the past month, here we go. Not a bad pie chart, probably a little bit more yellow than I'd like to see. But 2/3 of the time I'm green. A little bit more than 1/5 of the time I'm yellow, and then 1/10 of the time I'm red. So overall, pretty decent. Not a bad chart. It's not overly one thing or the other, and it's mostly green. So for the month, my HRV is a 69, readiness is 7. So numbers are all good. You know, I can see the intensity for my exercise is up higher. The week just started. It's actually Tuesday, so this is looking at calendar week, and this is calendar month. Readiness readings. This is a really cool thing here if you want to look at some charting, because charting really is over time the most important thing we do. So if you hit see more, it's going to take you over to where you get the choice to chart things. You can pick the time range and what you want to see here. So if we want to look at my HRV and my trend, so this is what's really important, is looking at the green line, which is my 7-day running average, and HRV, which is the daily number. And let's take it back. Let's look at it the whole month. So now I can look at the whole month. I can see my readiness readings. There's my reds. So I went through a period where I would be coaching myself, which I was, because I went red, yellow, red. That's not a good trend. It's what's over here on these other days where you hit yellow or red, and then you go back to green. Now you're recovering, you're getting back. It's a little bit more effective, but you can also see I was really tight, so my coefficient of variance was really small. And then once I started to vary a little bit and I was actually going parasympathetic, improving my HRV, I got hit with a red and a yellow and a red until that came back in alignment, and then I took a strong dip down, which again was yellow. So it's looking at it in context. It's neither good nor bad on either one. And then looking at heart rate, you can look at your exercise duration, your sleep duration, your exercise intensity. So you can see that's why I was a 3. You know, the couple of last ones I've walked the last couple of days. and then higher intensity right there. So I'm recovering from that. Quality of sleep. So several days in a row of poor quality of sleep, and you can see my HRV is dropping. You can see my heart rate increasing right with that. So you can see I'm highly affected by the quality and duration of my sleep. So all those are there. And what happens if you get out of it and leave it, once you go back, it's all reset to normal. So that's kind of cool. You don't need to worry about it. And then if you ever want to go back in time, you can see all these different entries of what's going on. You can hit more to hit more. So you can always pull up an old entry if you want to. And then looking at your home page gives you a different type of summary. It just gives you your weekly numbers. And then it gives you links to blogs and podcasts. But the charting right here, this is where it's really powerful. You need to look at how much you changed from yesterday. If you change more than 10, to me, that's an automatic red. I really don't care what it scored you as, but if the difference in one day to the next is more than 10, you should look at it as a red and focus on recovery and breathing. Your baseline in your lifetime, that tells you kind of how your week has looked, regardless of how it feels. Quite often you're going to feel fine, and your nervous system is going to be telling you that you've been fighting hard on something, you're not feeling it yet. If you recover in time, you never will. So this is an advanced indicator well before how you actually feel things most of the time. So that's how you compare today's reading to the lifetime, today's reading to your baseline, and then of course how much the variation is changes. If you have any questions, don't assume, shoot a note. That's why you're in a coaching program. Shoot us a note, ask us to take a look. We look in from time to time throughout the day, but obviously we don't know when you get up and when you take your readings. So we're popping in and out, and if we see something that's concerning, we're going to send a note. But if you wake up, take your reading, and then you're on and off to go for a run or go do something, and that's not what you should have done, then we go from there, of course. It's nothing deadly or anything that's going to be a major deal. But tomorrow's reading, actually today's reading, is kind of an indication of the actions we took and where we started yesterday from. Did we do well? So that's always the comparison as an ongoing trend. So if you have any questions, shoot us a note. Otherwise, this is how you take a look at your analysis and see what I should do today. And then, of course, there's another video that talks about what happens if you're red or yellow, and different actions that you can take from that. So thank you for watching. Coach Rob out.